Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome Guide Radio. I'm your host, Nelson E. Brown, and it's Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. I'm excited that you guys have another opportunity to sit down and speak with me about a very important subject for this evening. Now, I know that this is a very, very sensitive subject for a lot of people. But I was looking through my archives, and since I've been doing this broadcast for almost 3 years now, I noticed that there's not one broadcast that I've done that talks about insurance. Now, I've spoken to my guests about a wide variety of issues. We've talked about mental health, we've talked about community activism, we've talked about youth empowerment, we've talked about what it means to be an entrepreneur. We've spoken to educators. We've spoken to people in a variety of different fields. But this guest, he's very fantastic. So I'm glad that I'm going to have the opportunity to speak with him in about 15 minutes. And I'm glad I'm going to have an opportunity to introduce you all to him. His name is Mr. Kofi Amet, and he's going to speak to us about what it means to have insurance and how insurance is important in all of our lives. But before that, I wanted to just give you guys a little background information about what it means to really be in the insurance industry and what it really means to be an insurance sales agent. Now, again, I know that this is a very, very sensitive subject for a lot of people. I think that this is going to be a very informative discussion because when it comes to insurance, when we talk about insurance in many capacities, I think that oftentimes people don't recognize the significance of that. So I'm going to read a little bit about insurance because there are different types of insurance. And I wanted to have this conversation because I understand what it feels like to have the burden placed on you when business is not taken care of by the person who's supposed to be responsible. And I know that people find themselves in situations where they don't really understand what kind of decisions to make when something happens. If they get into an accident, or if they become ill, or if they pass away, if they don't know what to do with their loved one's assets. There are many, many situations that people find themselves in, and they don't know how to move forward, and they don't know how important it is to really know the costs to really adhere to those responsibilities. So I wanted to have a conversation about insurance. But again, before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the responsibilities of an insurance sales agent. Now, as you all know, as a sociology major in school, this is what I've studied. This is what I've learned about. This is what I have my degree from UMBC and my second degree from CCBC, and this is all about reading and writing. So I pulled some resources from the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics about what it means to be an insurance sales agent. Now, what I gathered from that, before we talk about the different types of insurance, I wanted to talk about the roles and responsibilities of an insurance sales agent. Now, from what I've gathered and from what I've read, I can see that an insurance sales agent is responsible for contacting potential customers, and they are also responsible for selling one or more types of insurance. Now, I understand that the agents explain, they give a very detailed description of different types of insurance policies, and they also assist clients with choosing plans that best suit them. Now, when we talk about insurance and when we talk about these policies, I know that they can gear towards people regardless of how much money they make or what they have. It's very adaptable, but we'll get into that in about 10 minutes. In addition to contacting potential clients and interviewing prospective clients, they're also responsible for gathering information about the client's financial situation and discussing existing coverage. It's their responsibility as insurance sales agents to explain the features of different insurance policies. They're responsible for analyzing clients' current policies, and they're also in the position to provide suggestions on additions or other changes to those policies. They also handle policy sales and renewals, They maintain clients' records and assist them with insurance claims. They assist them with the insurance claims process. Now, we have different types of insurance, as I've stated before. Now, we have life insurance agents, for instance. Life insurance agents are responsible for selling policies that pay beneficiaries when a policyholder passes away. They also sell other types and that require the policyholder to make a single deposit or a series of payments in exchange for regular disbursements over time. We have health insurance agents or long-term care agents who sell policies that cover some or oftentimes all of the costs of medical care and of assisted living services for older adults. They also may sell insurance for dental care and for short and long-term disability. Now, I'm much more familiar with many of my colleagues who work as insurance agents in the healthcare industry. By working in the healthcare industry and by gaining experience in the field of geriatrics, I'm very familiar with the costs of medical care and of assisted living services for a lot of these people who are amongst the senior population. Other agents include insurance brokers, independent insurance agents, we have captive agents, we have property and casualty insurance agents, and again, the list goes on and on. When we talk about captive agents, we can think about the insurance sales agents who work exclusively for one company and they sell policies provided by that company itself that employs them. We can think about insurance agents who work independently and may sell policies from several companies to match their client's need with the company that offers best rate and coverage. And when we talk about brokers, we can talk about insurance brokers who work for insurance brokerage firms, and we can talk about the fact that they may represent clients rather than insurers and may offer advice about competing companies' rates, coverage, and reputation and their reputation. Like the agents, the brokers may either be captive or independent. However, because independent brokers are not associated with insurance companies, they may also involve an insurer or insurance agent to complete a sale. Now, again, these are all of the roles and responsibilities of insurance agents. And like I mentioned before, I've worked in the field of geriatrics, so I'm much more familiar with agents who work in the healthcare industry because, again, I've worked in the field of geriatrics. So again, when I worked in the field of geriatrics, when I was able to gain experience in college under the house call program through MedStar Good Samaritan Hospital, I was able to learn much more about the health insurance agents who were affiliated with several companies. I was able to examine the costs of medical care for a lot of the patients and caregivers who resided in the Northeast Baltimore communities. I worked with a lot of healthcare providers and a lot of agents under the lead poisoning prevention program when I was an intern for the Maryland Department of the Environment. And even when I worked for Senator Cardin's office downtown in Baltimore, I was able to work with people one-on-one under with several federal agencies that in terms of the issues that they may have had with the federal agencies regarding their cases. I know people who were taking care of elderly parents, who were their payees, power of attorneys. I know that the costs that are associated with this entire process can really, I guess, take people for a loop. So when we think about the responsibilities and roles of insurance sales agents, we have to think about what kind of environment they can find themselves in. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we can see that insurance sales agents held about 523,200 jobs in 2021, and the largest employers of insurance sales agents, 60 out of all of those, 61% of them were insurance agencies and brokerages. 14% were self-employed workers. The direct insurance carriers made up 8% of those, except for life, health, and medical as the carriers, and 5% represented direct health and medical insurance carriers. Now, I think it's important for us to note that most insurance sales agents work in office settings, but they also travel to meet potential clients. They work on a full-time basis. I think it's also important to note that insurance sales agents typically need a high school diploma to enter into the field, but there are employers who prefer to hire candidates with a bachelor's degree, and who have a license in the state in which they work. Even though a high school diploma is typically required, some employers prefer to hire candidates and prospective agents who obtain a bachelor's degree in fields that pertain to business. And also licenses, certifications, and registrations may assist with the process as well. And in terms of the training, um, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, insurance sales agents learn many of their duties on the job. They shadow an experienced agent. The new agents learn more about the insurance products, the sales process, and how to interact with clients. And and sometimes agents take continuing education courses in order to meet the expectations of their employer. And it's also important to note that employers often expect agents to stay abreast of changes in tax laws, government benefits programs, and other state and federal regulations that may affect the client's insurance needs and the way in which agents conduct business. Now, again, these are all of the steps. What I've just described to you guys are the steps that you take in order to become an insurance agent. I've talked about the work environment. I've spoken about the credentials that you need in order to become one. And again, this is a very tough industry. But when we talk about the types of insurance and when we talk about how important insurance coverage is, I think that this applies to all of our lives. And again, it's very, 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 it can be very devastating emotionally and financially and mentally to really handle situations when business is not conducted well from our loved ones. And again, I talked about it before. Sometimes, we run into situations where we may become sick. Sometimes we lose loved ones who may pass away. Sometimes we may get into car accidents. Sometimes we may fall and we may get diagnosed with a disability. And we may have to figure out how to work and maneuver through all of these challenges that life brings and life throws at us, I guess. So I just wanted to speak about that a little bit because I think people often look at insurance as being a very, very expensive and very, very time consuming process. And again, when we talk about insurance, we talk about the big picture here, and we have to think about what it's doing for our families, our loved ones, the people who love and care about us. When we think about investing in insurance, we have to think about how beneficial it is going to be for each of us in the long run, and how it's a part of our legacy that we leave. It can be a part of our legacy that we leave. I think that investing in insurance is very, very, it's a huge sacrifice, but again, it's a very unselfish thing for all of us to do because again, this is about our families. This is about making sure that the people who we love and who we care about are left with everything and appropriately, and who know what to do in situations that they may find themselves in. Because we're all not going to be here forever. We're all going to be in a position where we're going to need other people to take care of our affairs for us, and we may be in positions where we may have to take care of affairs for others. So these are important things to note when we talk about insurance. I know that this is a very sensitive subject because a lot of people are really unfamiliar with the process. A lot of people don't really know how to go about it. A lot of people are under the assumption that you need to be wealthy in order to invest in insurance. You need to have all the money in the world to do all these things, and that's not necessarily the case. So to answer a lot of the questions that people have about insurance and what the roles and responsibilities are as an agent, how to pursue a career in this field, I'm going to introduce you all to Mr. Kofi. So he is going to be speaking to us about those roles and responsibilities in his current capacity. So, Mr. Kofi, thanks again for agreeing to take time out to speak on my show about a very important subject. This is my very first time actually speaking to an insurance agent, and this is my first time actually speaking about this subject on my show. And also, I forgot to mention that today we kick off Black History Month today. This is the first show for the month of February, so I'm glad that I had a chance to really, really, have you on to talk about it. So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose this field to pursue?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. First, I mean, before I actually say anything about myself, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to, to share some information with your audience. I want to say thank you for what you do for the community. I mean, as a young man, and some of these life events that you bring to light on your show are, educate the public. I appreciate, I just appreciate everything you do. I had a chance to watch some of your shows. I was pretty amazed, and I just want to say thank you. So I would just give you a brief uh, information about me. Excuse me. So I grew up in New York City as a young man. Grew up with a single parent in New York City. After high school, I decided to go to college. Uh, when started my college education in University of Bridgeport. I did 2 years, and then I transferred to Temple University. And then I decided to, while I was at Temple, to go to the military, because I thought that it was going to be a better opportunity for me. I went in the military, served for many years, retired sergeant from the Air Force. After I retired, worked for a couple years at the U.S. Naval Academy as an electrical engineer. Uh, did a couple years, and then moved around in different government department. I moved from the Navy. I went became a immigration officer. Did that a couple years, and then I worked briefly for Social Security Department. And a friend of mine that I went to college with pretty much told me about becoming a agent, and I was hesitant for a couple years, and here I am now.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. It seems like you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the field. It seems like you've been able to accomplish a lot. You've been able to dive deeply into so many different fields. You've had a taste of everything. It appears as though you've had a taste of everything that in order to prepare you for your roles and responsibilities now, which is fantastic. Um, so um, so what are some of the roles and responsibilities that you have? Because and I ask that because I work in the healthcare field too by day, and like I mentioned earlier, I've worked in the field of geriatrics with a lot of patients and caregivers who live in low income communities and have a hard time affording some of the basic necessities. So, for instance, a lot of them suffer from chronic illnesses and they couldn't afford, for instance, healthcare, and they couldn't afford, reliable, they didn't have reliable sources of transportation. So they didn't have the resources in order to meet all of their needs. So oftentimes they found themselves stuck in a rut because they really didn't understand what was out there. And a lot of people who live in low income communities or marginalized communities, oftentimes they can be overshadowed and underinvested. My role in the house call program was to again connect the patients and caregivers with the resources that they needed so that they could be successful. So I have worked with some insurance agents who specified, who specialized in the healthcare field specifically. But could you tell us a little bit about like your roles and your responsibilities in its entirety? Because I know that's only one aspect of it. So could you tell us a little bit more from a
Yeah.
from a much larger scale?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. That's very important questions as a agent in terms of our roles. So I would say one of the key things that I do as an agent is educate the community the importance of having the right insurance, because insurance is something that we all need. So so I educate the community in terms of different types of insurances that we offer. Uh, I promote the insurance agent seat that I have here to customer needs. I network with a lot of different businesses, in terms of letting those businesses know what I do, what types of insurances I we offer here, um, in terms of uh, business insurance. We have life insurance, group life insurance that we offer here. So most of my role, is networking, educating the public, and also taking uh, uh, different uh, people policies and explaining it to them. Because a lot of people have insurance, but they just don't know what they have. So if you were to call me up and say, "Hey, Kofi, I have life insurance, but I don't know what I really have." You come in, or we can do a virtual call. I will sit on, we'll talk about it. I will explain it to you in terms of what you have, you know, um, and then we maintain, most of our clients here, we maintain, their insurance. We service their product they have in here. We make sure everything is confidential. Um, so that's pretty much, uh, I would say that's pretty much the main role that I play here. Educating the community, and just reaching out to people. So when I leave my office, I'm an insurance agent. When I go home, I'm an agent. So I'm an agent 24/7. So I'm networking with people. I'm telling them what I do. And we also sponsor businesses. We sponsor events. So if I have a local business that is having an event, and we can collaborate and do things together. So that's pretty much, what I do.
Yes, yes. Thank you for elaborating on the roles and responsibilities. My next question is, why is insurance such a critical investment for families as well as single people? Because oftentimes, again, people
Mhm,
look at insurance and all types of insurance. Sometimes people don't really understand because people are under the impression that you have
mhm,
to have a lot of money in order to make these investments, and that
mhm,
I guess,
mhm,
you have, because again, the insurance industry is very adaptable to meet the needs of a lot of people. And again, what I've learned by working in the healthcare industry and by working with patients, not just under the house call program, but also with parents, and other healthcare providers, um, under the lead poisoning prevention program with MDE, and also with Senator Cardin's office by speaking to constituents directly on the phone and even some in person, is that there are a lot of options out there. So you're never going to be in a position where you feel like there's nothing out there that's really suitable for you, because people are under the impression that you have to have a lot of money in order to make these investments, whether it's about your car, whether it's about your home, whether it's about your health, whether it's about your life. People are under the impression that you have to be wealthy in order to make these types of decisions and take care of these kinds of affairs, and that's not necessarily the case. So could you tell us why that's such a critical investment, even if people are, I guess, single, people who may not have a family?
So the biggest thing is, most of the time when I meet people, uh, you know, families, young people, I think the biggest thing is you want to protect what you have worked hard for, and in protecting those things, you can protect those things by having the proper insurance, the proper coverages on those things. And I think that is so crucial in terms of having the right insurance, in terms of having the right liability for the unforeseen things that may happen. For example, you have a family. Um, Anything can happen, and you just want to be able to, if something were to happen to you, uh, what's going to happen to my family if I don't have the proper insurance? Who's going to take care of my 7-year old, my 10-year old, if I don't have the proper life insurance? What's going to happen? Don't you want your family to be taken care of if you are no longer here. And even besides that, um, I want to make sure I have the proper liability in terms of auto insurance coverages. So that way, if something happened, those things are taken care of. That way it is not a burden on my family. I have to come up with 20, $30,000 for property that I have damaged, and my insurance company, I only had a coverage of $15,000. See, I just want to make sure I have the proper insurance, and that's what we do here. So I would sit down with my clients, and we would do a needs analysis. You I either sit down with you or do that virtually. Just making sure that you are covered for those unforeseen things. And those things does not cost much when you really look at the whole insurance thing. I know you mentioned a lot of people thinks insurance costs a lot of money, but this is how I look at it. If you are paying few dollars more, let's say 20, $30 a month more, just to have a proper coverage and save yourself from a huge liability, isn't that worth it? I think that's worth it, because anything can happen at any time. We just don't know. And 20, 30, $40, yeah, I think, I know things are tight sometimes, but if we can just cut out how many times we go out to eat, I mean, that's just that one bill would take care of your insurance policy, you know. Yes, so I think it is necessary that we all think about the bigger picture if something were to happen, you know. uh, who's going to take care of my responsibility? Or if I lose a job, who's going to take care of my responsibility? Do I want insurance or putting those insurance in place that would cover those things if those things were to happen? Yeah. And that's something that I think we all need to, if you're single or you're family, we all need to think about, what if, because there are, we are not immune to that. What if?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, that I mentioned that when we talk about insurance and when we talk about making these investments, I mentioned before that it's a huge sacrifice, and it's a very unselfish investment. And it's a very unselfish thing to do because again, there are a lot of unforeseen circumstances that do take place, and I think that the pandemic has helped a lot of people realize that because a lot of people were very comfortable with just living their lives and not really thinking about the fact that okay, you're going to lose people and you're going to have to really learn how to work and maneuver through life under this new sense of normalcy that we have. So I know that I know that in my personal life I, I've suffered a lot of loss like through the pandemic, and I've had to really put things in perspective and say, okay, I really don't need this. Maybe I need to invest more in this. Maybe I can take away this in order to accommodate that financially. So I know that I've suffered a lot of loss throughout the pandemic. I've been in a situation where people didn't take care of their affairs appropriately, and the burden's been on me. I have friends who've been in the same predicament. I know a lot of people who've had to really adjust their perspectives on this whole conversation about insurance and what this investment really means, because people prior to the pandemic, people had no reason to look at things differently. People had no reason to make changes financially to their lifestyles. I know a lot of people, they take trips, they go out to restaurants, they splurge all of their money on a lot of things that I pretty much deem as being frivolous. But I think that having the inability to do those things throughout the course of the pandemic has made some people realize that okay, I have to do something differently here. Something has to change. I have to put my family first, and I have to put everything else aside and really focus on what matters. So I like the fact that you were able to elaborate about that because these investments, it only takes a little bit to start out with. And even in my professional life, working in the healthcare industry, working with a lot of these low income communities, the people who reside in these low income communities, figuring out how to connect them to the best resources in order to meet their needs. A lot of these people are in dire circumstances. They don't know how to move forward. So by working in the healthcare industry, I've really liked and I've really enjoyed working in the helping profession, to service those communities and to educate people, like you said, about the resources that are out there. So my next question is, who has mentored you throughout the course of your time that you spent building your career as an insurance agent? Because I know that being an insurance agent comes with a lot of roles and responsibilities. And I know that stepping into it, I guess you're not the same person you were when you stepped into it in the very beginning. You're much more seasoned, you're much more matured now. But I know that you need mentors in order to build your career. So who has really mentored you throughout this entire process? Who's really been there for you?
So I I have a college roommate that actually I think I mentioned that earlier that got me into the insurance industry. So I, he was in this for about probably 7 years, and then when he told me about it, um, I decided to leave my federal job and look more into it. So I actually went and worked in his office for over a year, just just learning the whole insurance process. What is, why are insurance important? Why do people need insurance? Um, and and during all of that process, he introduced me to a couple of different people that been in this area for 10, 15, 20 years of insurance experience, and all of these people and agents that I have surrounded myself with, have kind of like grown me into this place I am now. So what we do is every week, once a week, we all would just, we will meet. It would be three or four of us agents. We'll meet, sit, talk about different things, talk about what we can do to be better. What books can we read to be better? How can we make impact on our community? What can we do? What kind of event that we can put out there just to educate people. You know, so this one gentleman, I consider him kind of like a brother because I met him since 1994. While I was in college my first year, and we've been. I mean, he's a friend of mine, but I consider him as a brother. So I mean, we meet each other pretty much every week, and and that's important. I mean, especially we all need that mentor in our life, that one person that we can look up to, and I think he has been that person uh, that have actually shown me, what is it to be an insurance agent. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That's very important. And I ask that question all the time, for a lot of my guests because, in order to get to where you are, you need people to really help you along the way. I know that, of course, in order to become seasoned in whatever profession that you are in, you need mentors, people who've gone through the ranks, um, if you will, and really, who've have a lot of time and who've invested a lot of time into their profession, their vocation. And it's great to hear that you've had mentors along the way, great mentors along the way, people who have served you well and who have motivated you to become the seasoned an agent that you are, because we all need that. We all need people in our corner to help us along the way because we don't know everything. We go into it with this mindset that we want to save everybody, we want to do everything, we want to be everything, and that's not always the case all the time. There should always be a room for growth, um, regardless of where you are or how far you've come. So it's great that you've had that chance to really share that with us. So my next question is, well, I guess it's a two-part question. Is what's the most difficult part about being an insurance agent, and what do you enjoy most? I think you talked a little bit about what you enjoyed most. So could you tell the listeners a little bit about what's very difficult about this profession or this vocation?
Okay. I would say one of the most difficult things about being an Asian, Mr. Brown, is dealing with, people, people. I say people because some people can be difficult, and some people just don't understand that there are certain things I can do, and there are certain things I cannot do. You know, I have licenses that I have to abide by. I have other compliance to the state of Maryland insurance. I have to abide by. So sometimes people uh, dealing with difficult people. I think that's one of the most challenges because some people, no matter what you do, just would not understand. So but having say that, I love people. I just don't cannot expect everybody to be good, or or everybody's not to be difficult. So it's something that I'd expect, despite of having difficult people that I deal with. I would not trade what I do now because I make impact on lives. So that little small amount of people that are difficult is not going to change what I do, because in life nothing's going to be uh, what you want it to be in terms of 100%. But dealing with people. So sometimes you got to understand that we are humans. I make mistakes too, but when you make mistakes, sometimes people would just they use that against you, and they just think that you're not supposed to make mistakes. And then some of them can use that to damage your reputation. But hey, this is what I sign up for, and I love doing this. Because it helps me make and educate our community and just make impact, in terms of providing these different types of insurance that we offer. Yeah, so I would say that's one of the most difficult things because, there are certain people that are just difficult. No matter what you do, you can give them the whole word. They're just going to be difficult. So, but I mean, I understand that. And the thing that I really like about my job, I would say relationship, Mr. Brown. Sometimes you get, I mean, most instances, I say we get to build everlasting relationships. You know, um, uh, you get to meet some people, and you just develop that relationship that goes on for years. Goes on for years, and then with their relationship, you get to network with other people. So I love that aspect, and I just love the aspect of helping people make better decisions, regarding their insurance. you know um, and then working with different types of people, I enjoy that too. I enjoy that. And also, you know uh, what we do can also be rewarding, but I enjoy the rewards from what I do, you know. So I can't say much anything negative about it when it comes to that. I love the reward, and when we make these life changes in people's life, I love that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I understand you 100% because of the field that I work in and because of the internships I've had to deal with the public over the phone and in person as well. And I've had some instances where I've had some difficult constituents, difficult patients, and caregivers. But again, oftentimes people don't understand how the process works, and they think that you can just wave a magic wand and just make everything happen. But that's not necessarily the case. So I get that 100%. And I also love the fact that you had mentioned that you really enjoy building the connections with people who do work in the industry and families that you do meet, people that you do meet on a daily basis, because those connections matter. And of course, the good always outweighs the bad when you're in a field where you have to deal with the public. And again, when we talk about insurance and when we talk about these investments, this is I guess we can look at it from a bigger picture, from a broad stance on a larger scale. This is about our lives. This is about again that legacy that I made reference to in the beginning of the show. This is about what we can do for our families and the people that love us. It's more. It's not just about a payment that you make each month. It's much more than that. It's about our lives. So this is about preparing the future generations, people coming behind us. This is about preparing them for the future. This is about again doing what's best for the people we love, the people we care for, the people who've been with us and who are with us. So I also want everyone to note that, because again, people just think that it's just about the amount of money you pay each month, and it's much more than how much you pay versus how beneficial it is for you in the long run, and how it can really change your life when you look at it from a much larger scale. So I'm glad that you were able to speak about that. So my next question is, how are you and your colleagues growing together in this industry? Because we're in 2023. So I know that you've been working in this industry for a very long time. So what plan do you have moving forward? Because I know that you've been able to accomplish a lot, and I know that you've been able to gain a lot of experience that has helped prepare you for where you are today. So where do you see yourself moving forward? Because I know that, of course, you've been in the industry for a while, but there's always room for improvement somewhere, and there's always room for growth somewhere. So where do you see yourself in the future? Let's just say 5 years from now.
Um, I, I, I I think 5 years from now, um, I see myself in pretty much in the same space, helping people, and I guess I would say, you know, uh, technology is constantly changing. So we gotta customer has expectations. So as an agent, we got to be able to manage those changes. As customer change, we got to be able to adapt. We got to be able to meet the customer where they want to be met. So for example, let me give you a typical example. Um, there are people that don't like you to call them. You have to text. So I have to be able to. There are people who would not come in the office. I have to be able to do a virtual meeting. So I would say I see myself adapting to the constant changes in terms of meeting customers where they want to be met. And I think it's so key, as an agent. I remember uh, 10, 15, 20 years ago, uh, you know, in order for you to get your auto policy or your life insurance, you might have to come in the office. Now, all of those things are done electronically. So it's just a click of a button. You sign here, sign here, sign here, versus paper apps. Now everything is electronic. So we got to be able to meet the customer where they want to be met, because we have to be able to keep up with the changing technology. And I think that's key as we as time goes by as an agent. You know, yeah.
Yes, adaptability is key, because you have young clients, but you also have older clients who may still like that, who still make like things to be done the old-fashioned way. So So it's great that you have the ability to adapt to the needs of others, and that's what you have to do when you work in this field and when you're meeting people, and when you're putting yourself out there and when you're networking. You have to be flexible. You have to again meet the needs, just like you mentioned, of the clients, the prospective clients that you do have. So, what advice would you give to young people who want to make an insurance investment? And I asked that question because, of course, I'm going to be turning 24 this year, and I'm learning much. I'm learning a lot about insurance, and different types of insurance. And I plan on making much more investments myself, as a young person, so that I can prepare for my future. I know a lot of people again, they don't look at the big picture when they think about these types of investments, because they again, they just think about the amount of money they pay for it each month, and it's deeper than that. It's when you look at it from a much larger scale, how beneficial it is for you in the long run. And it's about our lives. These investments are about our lives. It's about our futures. It's about our families. And people, again, they take that for granted, and they just look at it as a payment each month. But again, it's much more than that. So what advice would you give to young people who want to make
Yep.
an insurance investment, regardless of what what,
I
what kind of
was
investment?
correct. The first thing I would say, that would be the best thing to do, because when you are younger and you put these things in place earlier, the better it is. It's not just about uh, what kind of policy you're getting, but also it's about the cost effect. I mean, like you just mentioned, you 24 is going to be 25. So you put in a life insurance policy at this age and lock it in versus somebody's waiting 20 years to do that. You're already ahead of the game. And the fact that you put those things in early, you lock in a specific payment, and you get more versus waiting when you are older. And sometimes, I mean, I'm 47 years old, going to be 48. There might be, preconditions later on in life you may not be able to put these things in place. So the earlier you can do that, you are ahead of the ball game. As a young man or woman, you put that in place. Uh, I mean, what I know now, which I had known those things 20 years ago, so that would be one of the advice. If you can't put those things in place now, it is to your advantage because you come in at a better rate, better price, and you lock those things in, and it remains with you for the rest of your life. Versus coming in 10, 15, 20 years later, and the possibility of you getting what you want, you may not even be able to because of your age. Yep. So
Yes,
the
yes,
earlier,
absolutely.
yep, the earlier you start putting money away, yep, the less you have to contribute later. So that's just how it goes.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm 23. I'll be 24 actually. So I'll be 24 on May 14th. So like I've really put a lot of things in perspective, and I've been making it my business to make much more investments now. And I'm definitely learning a lot about the insurance industry itself, not just because of the field that I work in, but also because, again, I know, I've seen people in predicaments where people didn't get their affairs in order, and the burden's been placed on their family, and you know people in their community, people who love and care about them. The burden's placed on them to take care of everything. I know what it looks like when people don't take care of their business appropriately, and that and again, a lot of suffering from a lot of loss during the pandemic has really made me realize that, okay, I'm in a position so where I can, when I can make those investments now in order to prepare for the future, because you're never too young in order to start this, because you blink and then you become older, and these options, like you said, may not be available. These resources you may not be the most feasible for you later on down the line, especially if you have a family and you're trying to establish that at a later age versus establishing that now versus 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So that's great. advice to give. So my next question is, what advice would you give to a lot of young people who are interested in pursuing a career as an insurance agent? Because again, a lot of people just look at the amount of money you can make versus the impact itself. So could you tell us a little bit about what advice you would give to young people
Well,
who want to work in this field?
I would say you want to be able to make sure that this is what you're gonna like doing this because Mr. Brown, um, we are different. I might be able to make it look easier to you in terms of what I do versus you doing it. So you got to make sure this is what you want to do. Because because if it's not something that you want to do, it's gonna get. I mean, it's just gonna take that one or two customer in your face, telling you how bad and horrible you are, or you didn't do your job for you to make a U-turn. So you gotta take the time and learn the business, or find an agent that you can connect with, someone in the insurance area that you can connect with, so and then you can come there and learn and see this is what you really want to do, because if this is not something you want to do, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's rewarding, but for me it's more like impact. It makes me happy when I can help someone put in certain things in place. It makes me feel good when something happened in someone's life, and they come up to me and I have to write that check, and that check make a difference in their family. So so it's more for me, more like impact. But I would say if you are young and this is something that you're interested in, get to learn it. Get to learn it. I mean, and see if this is what you really want to do, because I see a lot of people often waste their time, and starting something and they can't finish because it's not what you really want to do. You're coming in there for the wrong reasons. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yes, thank you for sharing that too. Because again, this is about the impact that you make in the lives of families and the lives of people that you meet on a daily basis. This is not just about making money and just elevating yourself. This is about, again, making the impact on each and every family that you come across. And again, that makes you feel good when you're able to make a difference in someone else's life. And I've made it crystal clear, even throughout the broadcast, that this is not these investments and just being in this field. It has nothing to do with money. It's about the impact, and it's about the difference that you can make in your life and in the lives and in the lives of others. Because again, a lot of people just look at it as a payment each month, and it's more than that. It's deeper than that. It's about our future. So, because this is about our lives. Because again, we should want, again, because it's very unselfish for us to make these investments. It's a huge sacrifice, but again, we want our families to know what to do when something happens, because we have no control over what happens in life. We may find ourselves in dire circumstances later on. Just because things look good now doesn't mean that they're going to look good in the future. So you never know in this life where you're going to end up and what kind of predicament you're going to find yourself in. So it's your responsibility to find responsible people in your family, in your community, amongst your group of friends, who can take care of your affairs accordingly. I mean, because in order to make these investments, we also need people that we can trust, in our families and amongst, you know, the people, whether it's a group of friends, whether it's family, people we love and we care about. We need people that we can trust in order to handle our affairs. I don't think it's really healthy for people to go through life thinking that they don't really need anyone, and because we're not going to be here forever, so we're going to need someone to handle our business for us if we're not in the position to. And again, from the insurance agent standpoint, just like you mentioned, making a difference in the lives of others. And again, making giving people the resources that they need, it helps you feel good too. It's not just about the families; it's about all of us. And a lot of people, I find that a lot of people just really don't understand the process. I think that once you are in the position to really educate, individuals and families about the process, and if they're ready and if they're willing to start making that investment, they will. And again, this is about our lives. This is about our future. So these investments are about our future. It's much more than just a payment that you make each month. A lot of people just look at it as a payment each month, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or how little you have. Everybody can find something that's suitable for them.
That's
Um,
correct.
so so any last words for the listeners about the insurance industry, the field that you work in, what it's really taken for you to get to this point? Any last words? Anything you want to share? Anything else you want to share in terms of how people can reach you? If people want to learn more about the industry, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, I would say to all my friends, family, customers out there, just take the time and talk to your local agent. Um, you might be surprised in terms of things that you can put in place, things that you think may cost tons of money, you know, but it doesn't. Just take the time and come in or call your agent, or you can call me up, and we can sit down and talk about different things, different situation concerns you have, things you want to put in place. We can take the time to look at all those things. Even the current things that you have now. If you want me to take a look at it and have a discussion in terms of what you have, I can also do that. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the community. I'm here for you. You know, and you can actually reach me at www.kofiamet. I'll repeat that, www.kofiamet.com. Kofi Amet is spelled as Kofiamet. I am also on Facebook. You can, search for me on Facebook, Kofi, Kofi. Last name is Amet. My office number here is 410 504 1168. I will repeat that again. It's 410 504 1168. I have a business cell phone number that you can also call. That number is 410 493 1461. My physical address is 10210 South Dawfield Road, Suite E. I am in Owens Mills, Maryland, 21117. So I am at the intersection of South Dawfield Road and Peanut Mills Road, uh, probably 2 blocks away from Wegmans in Owens Mills. And once again, the office number here is 410 504 1168.
So thank you again for taking time out to appear on my show and to have this very informative discussion. Again, thank you for being the very first insurance agent on my show. And this is the very first time I've actually had a conversation about insurance on my show. So I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me and talk about it. This people need to know. So I'm glad that you had a chance to speak about this.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share some information with the public. I appreciate all you do. Thank you again.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm going to let you go, but I just wanted to, let you know that I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so that wraps up another edition of the Beauty and Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. I hope that you guys were really able to make the most out of this broadcast. We were able to share a lot. This is a very sensitive subject, but I hope you guys were able to really learn a lot about the insurance industry, what it takes to become an insurance agent, and also the impact of this work. And again, just like we've mentioned throughout the broadcast, this is about our lives. This is about our families. This is about our future. So this is about, again, building that legacy, leaving that legacy, building that foundation, and making sure that our loved ones, our families, our friends, the people in our communities, you know how to handle our affairs accordingly. So it's very important. And I hope that you all were really able to engage in this discussion and really make the most of it. Take advantage of the opportunity. And again, this is not about, how much money you have or, how little you have. This is about the investment in itself. So I really hope that you guys were able to really remember that and really, to really take heed to what we had to share this evening. So since this is Black History Month, I'm going to leave you guys with a clue for next week's show. So this prominent figure in Black history was an American author, activist, and civil rights leader who was married to a very prominent civil rights leader during the civil rights movement until his assassination. She advocated for African American equality. She was one of the leaders of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. She was also a prominent singer who incorporated music into her work as a civil rights activist. And she attended grad school in Boston. She was born in Alabama, and she became increasingly active in the movement during the 1960s. She advocated for LGBTQ rights, and her opposition to apartheid was known. And she was also born on April 27th, 1927. She has four children: Yolanda, here's the hint, Martin, Dexter, and Bernice. And she also won the Gandhi Peace Prize. So that's one of the many accolades she received during her work, as people referred to her as the first lady of the civil rights movement. So that's your clue for next week's show. And she also passed away on January 30th, 2006. So that's your clue for next week's show. So again, hop back on. Next week is Valentine's Day. So next week we have a show on Valentine's Day. So we're going to be talking about unconditional love next week, what that means, what that feels like, and what that looks like. So make an appointment to meet me back here on February 14th, 2023 from 6 to 7 p.m. as we have a conversation during our Valentine's Day show about the meaning of unconditional love. So we'll have a chance to examine what that looks like, what that feels like, and also, just what that is, what is unconditional love. We'll be able to dive deep into that conversation. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope you guys are able to tune in with me next week. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys, and I will see you all next Tuesday.